NFL real quick. We can go to NFL, the important games. There are a lot of unimportant games in the NFL real quick. Week 16. And I will say I need to pull up the NFL real quick. So we had the 49ers and Colts play tonight. So that'll be an interesting game. I think 49ers should take care of business on that one. But we had the Rams beat the Seahawks, Eagles beat the Commanders, Packers beat the Bears, Tampa Bay lost to the Panthers, Vikings beat the Giants, Saints beat the Jets, of course. Cincinnati beat the Dolphins, Tennessee beat the Chiefs, sadly. LA beat the Cowboys, Buffalo beat the Browns, Atlanta beat the Cardinals, Jaguars beat the Broncos, Raiders lost to the Texans, Steelers beat the Lions, and the Patriots beat the Ravens. So which out of these all games, Jacob, was the most piqued your interest the most?
I will tell you which of these games mattered right now, because there's a few, but we're not going to cover the ones that didn't. To get the ones that did not matter right out of the way,
Yeah, we ain't got
we're not going to talk about mediocrity here. Tennessee, Kansas City did not matter. Bengals, Miami was a fun game. The Dolphins-Bengals game was fun, but it did not matter. The Chargers-Dallas game did have some importance to it, but Dallas is practically out. The Bills-Cleveland game was important, and I will mention why in a minute. The Jaguars, the two most important games, actually, no, the three most important games from this slot, with the honorable mention being the New England-Baltimore game. At number 3 was the Steelers-Lions game. Number 2 was the Jaguars-Broncos game. And number 1 was easily the Thursday night matchup with the Seattle Rams game. Oh, and actually don't let me forget. You know what? I'm actually going to go back on that statement. We actually had a lot of important games here. I forgot about Tampa Bay and Carolina. I forgot about Chicago and Green Bay. Those are also important. The reason why I didn't mention them is because their records are a lot closer. But I'll break it down very fast for you, DeAndre. The most exciting game, and I think the best story of this week, was Thursday Night Football. Everyone has been telling me the Rams are Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC, and I live by Philadelphia. I live in a land where I have countless Jets fans, unfortunately, Giants fans, Eagles fans. I'm a Ravens fan, so I support, the NFC side of it, whoever's really doing well. I had to pick maybe the Giants, but I'm an AFC guy at heart. And let me say this about the NFC West. It is the most loaded conference in football this year. We're going to not talk about the elephant in the room, the Cardinals. They are garbage. But we are going to talk about the 49ers, right? The 49ers are a team that is really hurt, but they are solid as hell. And when healthy, even when they're still injured, Kyle Shanahan is a genius and still can pull out wins. I'm not going to talk too much about this Colts-Niners matchup tonight. It does matter for both teams, although the Colts are basically outside looking in for the playoffs now, with Daniel Jones getting hurt and Phillip Rivers starting as a 44, 45-year-old quarterback. But I think the Niners take it, won't cover it too long. But this Seahawks-Rams game had so much implications. Everyone has been saying for the past few weeks that the Rams have looked amazing. Matthew Stafford's in the MVP conversation. But then let's look at the Seahawks, right? They have been amazing all year, and it hasn't been quarterback play that has been keeping them up. I mean, Sam Darnold actually has been very good this year, given the circumstances that it's Sam Darnold. And I was actually a huge Sam Darnold supporter last year. I love his story. His story is phenomenal. I love the comeback. He goes onto the Vikings, completely kicks ass. But then here's the narrative here. Last year, Sam Darnold couldn't get over the Rams in the playoffs. They lost. Sam Darnold, this was his revenge game. Sam Darnold did the impossible, which was beat the LA Rams on a freezing night in Seattle where the Rams looked unstoppable. And it wasn't until the fourth quarter where I remember watching this game. I was at my buddy's house, and I really looked at the score and said, okay, Rams have this one. It's over. It went to OT. Sam Darnold pushed it to overtime, and beat the Rams on a 2-point conversion. But let's not forget
Yeah, he took care of that.
the real person who's been the difference maker on this team, besides the coach, who has been phenomenal. Jackson Smith and Jigba has shot up the rankings, is the best wide receiver in the NFL currently.
Best.
Best. Puka Nakua's up there. I mean, here's the thing. You have to look at it from stats. You have to look at it from the performance and impact he's had on his team. He's a captain. JSN has took the biggest leap. I would say talent-wise, Jamar Chase is still probably the best. You have the margin for Justin Jefferson. Puka's now in that, which Puka, I love his story too. But Jackson Smith and Jigba has given the Seahawks consistency and reliability at a position that's it's very difficult to find that. You have a lot of good wide receivers. I'm sure you know this playing college back in the day. You have a lot of good wide receivers, but you don't have a lot of amazing wide receivers. And he is that fine line between that, especially when the narrative going into the year for the Seahawks is that JSN wasn't really that good. He had a lot of arguments around him that Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison, and Emeka Egbuka, even now, were going to be better receivers than he was.
I mean, definitely gonna be the best receiver in the playoffs, hands down, because all the players, the receivers on good teams ain't even making the playoffs. So he has a chance to put his stamp on his approval and get his stamp of approval and get into all the clubs he wants. But yeah, look, that Seahawks Rams game was lit. Best game of the year, easily.
Extreme.
Game was lit. I like the Seahawks, man. I'm from my team is Kansas City Chiefs for y'all who don't know. I'm from Kansas City, and in my second, but I have two teams: Chiefs and the Panthers. The Panthers are my team because I was born in Carolina, and I was a Carolina Panther fan all throughout growing up because I didn't want to be the same as every other Chiefs fan here. So I'm happy to see they won the game. But yeah, to follow you up, you're right. Darnold got his revenge. I like Darnold. I thought the Vikings never should have got rid of him. I'm not on high at all on JJ McCarthy. I am a JJ McCarthy hater.
I'm a
Proudly.
huge JJ McCarthy hater. 9 is the dumbest thing I have seen in years, and that dude needs to just be labeled a bust. Move on.
He's bust or backup quarterback, one of the two. I mean, he can hold that clipboard pretty well, I heard.
He is doing a disservice to Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson. He just needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks volumes because what Darnold did with the exact team he had last year. And then look at him now. He's injury prone, like I said. People are like, oh, he only played 2 seasons. If you get hurt your whole first season, you're injury prone. That's what injury prone is called.
He was only good at Michigan because Jim Harbaugh, he was a system quarterback. He was that is the argument. He is a system quarterback and he does not belong in the NFL. I stand by that. I will never have a different take. JJ McCarthy could be an XFL quarterback. By you in the same state of Missouri, get him on the St. Louis Battlehawks, he'd kick ass.
Dang, not in the NFL.
I know that was a little harsh. I have Justin Jefferson in fantasy. I have very harsh feelings towards.
Not in the NFL.
I mean, he's a backup, but I mean,
But yeah,
oh, sorry, keep going.
No, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I mean, he won a national championship. I think if you win a national championship, I've always thought this. If you win a national championship as a starting quarterback, you deserve a chance. But that does not mean you should be a first round draft pick when you have proven that you cannot throw the ball to win your team games. He didn't win his team games. His coach did and the running game did. And he was there. Of course, he was quality. And they say game manager is an important part of the game to manage the game. I'm like, look, I ain't trying to hear all that. If you put JJ McCarthy on the Jets, they will be terrible like they are this year. Like he's not going to win you the games. And if you going from a quarterback who is winning you games, 11, 12, I don't know, 14 games last year, and y'all ain't even sniffed the playoffs this year, I don't want to hear it.
The last thing I'm going to touch on for this Rams Seahawks game, and you kind of harping off JJ McCarthy at Michigan was not the centerpiece there. His name was actually Blake Corum, who, may I add, is currently stirring up some trouble in LA. He's giving Williams a run for his money. He had 14 carries, 48 yards, 1 touchdown, and he went 1 for 2 on receptions and 13 yards. He had a very solid performance for someone who has been very touted in a tricky LA run game. And, that's someone I think that if we're talking about Michigan players that belong in the NFL from that Harbaugh squad, it would be him over JJ. I just I don't have confidence in JJ McCarthy. But let's shift gears. You mentioned to me that you were a Panthers fan second. I actually have a lot of respect for that. I love the Panthers because I love rooting for the underdog. And even though I hate David Tepper, terrible owner, he finally stuck his neck out of the team. And now the Panthers, as of last night, I believe just clinched the NFC South, right?
I don't
Did
know
they?
if they clinched it or not. That was confusing on me because usually I would see the shirts come out and whatnot if they clinch the division. So I don't think they clinched it. I think they will win it. I think they have to win the last game, or the Bucks have to lose. Because I think the Bucks on a tiebreaker because the Bucks did beat them early in the year, and I don't know how. I think the point spread is the secondary tiebreaker on that. And then ending up Blake, shout out Kyron Williams, the other LA running back from Missouri as well. And I thought you said Blake Corum's stirring up trouble. I thought you meant to say he got in trouble. I was like, what happened?
Wow.
But yeah, shout out the Panthers, man. They've been my squad. For y'all who really know me like that, I've been rocking with the Panthers for the longest. Cam, of course, Jake Delhomme. The list goes on. But yes, the last 10 years have been putrid for the team. And if they were to make the playoffs this year, I'm going, obviously, I cover the games and whatnot, but that'll be hard for me to pass up not going to that game. Now, usually I like going to Philly. It's easy to get there from New York, but if they host a playoff game, I might have to slide on down to Carolina. I mean, they took care of the Bucks, but this is what I think. I still think the team has a long way to go. I think Bryce Young got a long way to go.
That was
Bryce,
gonna
yeah,
be my first
go
question
ahead.
to you, actually. So, and you could hear me, right? I'm not seeing the green bar. Okay, good. So the Panthers winning last night, it was a close game. They won 23-20. It was very close. And I mean, Tampa Bay's season has been derailed by injuries. It is a good team, no matter how you look at it. Their receiver room is insanely loaded. Baker has had the other amazing comeback story as a quarterback who was once labeled a bust. But we're not talking about the Bucks right now. We're talking about the Panthers. Bryce Young, I have never heard so much crap talked about in the modern day NFL, who is now showing out. You know, I always said when Bryce Young went to the Panthers and they were terrible for the last 2 years, it wasn't his fault. The Panthers didn't have a competent team. Now, out of nowhere, I don't think it was on anybody's bingo card, DeAndre, that the Panthers would be a playoff team this year.
It was on my bingo card.
Really?
It was because they have an easy schedule. And they play in a weak division. I think the division is very terrible. It's very weak. The Panthers still haven't proven to me that they can be that squad. I'm gonna tell you their wins this year. They beat the Falcons, terrible. They beat the Dolphins, terrible. They beat the Cowboys, not good. They beat the Jets, not good. They beat the Packers, so I'll give them that win. They beat the Falcons again, terrible. They beat the Rams somehow,
That was a crazy game.
and
That was a crazy.
crazy game. And they beat the Bucks, who are mid. So I'll give them the Rams game. That was the quality win for them. But even the beating the Packers, like that was a 16-13 game. Not to say, look, not to say every week you got to beat a good team, but they've lost all. They're 8-7. They play in a terrible division. Good Lord, terrible,
Bottom feeder division.
terrible. And I love the Panthers. Look, I love them. I'm happy we doing well. But just like the A&M people were telling me they weren't getting too excited, I'm not going to get too excited on this team. I think the Panthers, they have good foundation. What Bryce Young got to show me, at least, especially in these last 2 weeks of the season. Oh yeah, I forget no shit that they haven't clinched the division because there's not. My brain is stuck on 16 games. There's
Yeah,
17 games.
it's 18. They haven't. It actually might come to the 18th game for the Panthers because that division is so close.
Yeah.
It normally doesn't, dude. It normally doesn't happen like that. And I think the only other conference that may happen for, although I don't know after last night, would be the AFC North, but we will see.
Yeah, we'll see. Because the Panthers, they play the Seahawks next week. They both trying to win that game. So I could see the Panthers losing that game, even at home. And then the Panthers-Bucks play the last week of the season. So honestly, like,
The Seahawks aren't trying to win that. The Seahawks actually clinched the NFC West. They won it.
well, they want that bye though.
They do. Does that
Well,
indicate that? Okay, I guess it
how
does.
did they clinch already,
Um, I
even if they lost the last 2 games?
I no, I believe that's what I read on the headline. I could fact check myself right now.
That's interesting. If they clinch it, then maybe they'll rest their players, and the Panthers got a chance if they rest their players, but I think if the Seahawks play
Yes.
all
Wait, they clinched the playoffs, but they have not clinched the NFC West. I was incorrect on that. My apologies.
well, the Panthers losing next week. We losing. I don't believe in the team, man. I mean, look, Bryce Young is cool, but look, he's 2,691 yards passing, 21 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. That's close to a 2-to-1 ratio. That's all right, but I ain't gonna win you anything in the playoffs. I need quality stats. I mean, he's not even, I don't even think he'll crack 3,000 passing yards. I just think that in 63.5 completion percentage, it's all right. He's all right, Like he's all right. I just
Team around
think,
the team around him keeps getting better. I mean, J.C. Horn on defense has been stellar. Ted McMillan has been great this later half of the
yeah,
year. I mean, Xavier Legette needs to do more, in my opinion, but Rico Daddle's resurgence is one of the greatest stories of the year. Chuba Hubbard's still a solid running back, and
we all right.
their line hasn't been horrible. I mean, they haven't been great, but they've been horrible. I mean, the Panthers are an interesting team to keep an eye on going forward. On the other side of that, the Buccaneers, their season, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but this team, like my Baltimore Ravens, has been injury struck to the core. And I think they just need to get everyone healthy and try again next year.
Yeah, exactly. Like next year is the year for the Ravens. And I mean, the Ravens, yeah, especially after last night. But yeah, I mean, the Panthers, like, look, they beat the Bucks. I'm happy. Congratulations. But I could still see turmoil coming across the water. And, they haven't made it through the moat yet. They got a little bit more work to do. But I'm gonna just be honest. Like, if they make the playoffs, all the teams that they could play, they're not beating the Seahawks in the playoffs. They could beat the Bears. I don't believe in the Bears 100% either still. They're not beating the Eagles. They're not beating the Rams. They're not beating the 49ers. The teams that would play in the first round would be the Rams, the 49ers, or probably they're going to play the Packers or the Lions or the 49ers. One of those 3 teams they'll probably play in the first round if the Panthers make the playoffs. Because the Panthers are getting the 4 seed. They're not getting the 3 seed. They'll make the 4 seed and they'll play the 7 seed. And
So
so they'll play either the Lions, the Packers, or the 49ers.
you
I
mentioned
don't see him.
you said something to me that I want to ask about. And, to cap off, that game was a close game. You said you don't believe in the Chicago Bears. And, I have a lot of good friends. I got a lot of people that I deal with when I'm in Kentucky. And I'm sure you're not too far off where you're at in Kansas City because it's not horribly far from it's the Midwest. There's a lot of loud Bears fans right now. A lot of really loud Bears fans. I got a lot of good people in my corner. Shout out Braden, who are huge. Shout out Sean, huge Bears fans. And the biggest thing I think about with the Bears is this has been the difference maker with them. It's been Ben Johnson. Let's talk about this Packers game. For the majority of this game, kind of similar to the Seahawks game, but not to the same caliber. The Bears didn't look very good most of this game. Neither did the Packers, to be fair. I think without Micah Parsons and Jordan Love getting that concussion, Malik Willis, that's their backup quarterback, right? Guy from Liberty. Yeah. Malik Willis, I actually think deserves another chance at getting a starting job. I actually thought he was very good at Liberty. But the Packers were not doing well. Josh Jacobs had an abysmal night. And I mean, it looked like it was going to be a field goal type of win for the Packers or whoever was going to take this. But then in the very last minute, Ben Johnson does it again. And this is the most intense rivalry in football. I know there's a lot of arguments to be made, but if you've ever been to the region, if you've ever seen how these fans interact, the only intense rivalries I've ever seen outside of this one have all been college rivalries. There are a few other ones with, the Chiefs, the Eagles. Oh, don't even get me started on Eagles fans. But the Bears Packers rivalry is heated as hell because it's always very close. The Packers, one of the greatest teams of all time. The Bears still a good program historically, but the Bears this year, Ben Johnson. Yeah, do you remember Week 1 when the Vikings beat the Bears and we all said JJ McCarthy looked good?
Yeah, I was at that game. I saw that game.
Yeah, it's very funny how that narrative flipped because now Ben Johnson's doing Ben Johnson things. The Lions just lost to the, and I'm pissed they lost to the Steelers. Oh, I hated that game. But the Lions just lost to the Steelers without their amazing offensive coordinator, now head coach Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, and DJ Moore are currently heroes in the Chicago greater area. And that in overtime, when they got there, I didn't even think they were getting to overtime. I was watching the game. I just didn't really think it was going to happen. But then they got the ball on offense, and Caleb Williams threw that 45-yard pass to DJ Moore. And suddenly, and you're very familiar with DJ Moore if you're a Panthers fan, DJ Moore has been extremely, extremely boom or bust this year. Romo Dunze emerged as the great number one that we were all waiting to see emerge, but then he fell off a rock. Then, you had that weird trio of DJ Moore, Ocadius Zacchaeus, if I hope I did not butcher that, and Luther Burden, which, by the way, I know you went to Mizzou.
Mizzou. Shout out Mizzou.
I love Luther Burden out of Mizzou. I thought he was super slept on in the draft. I think he fell for the wrong reasons. He's going to be great. But they had that interesting trio. They had Cole Kmet. They had Colson Loveland, who I had mixed feelings on. And they had, DeAndre Swift. And shout out my Jersey guy, Kyle Magnai from Rutgers. But Caleb Williams has single-handedly proven, at least in the scheme of Ben Johnson, that he is showing to be worth the number one pick. Caleb Williams has been the most controversial figure since that draft, as you've had other quarterbacks taken lower than him doing better in the recent field of things. But I think that this was a prove it game for Caleb. And now the Bears are legit. I do believe in the Bears. I think that the Bears have a solid defense. I think the offense is rolling, although it's like a crappy generator. It takes a few pulls to get started up, but once it does, it keeps going.
No, I think look, you made some good points with the Bears. I think the Bears, look, being at week 1, I've never been to Soldier Field for a game. I got to see everything. They lost that game. I made a video talking to Bears fans after the game. They were all distraught. Oh, same old Bears, another season, this, that, and the third. And I was like, dang, that's how it is up here. I knew the Bears was poverty, but the fans, it's good. I like that I get to talk to them after because I really get to feel the vibe and the atmosphere, what's going on. And I was thinking maybe it's just another year, and maybe I knew Caleb Williams. I respect him, but it's kind of like the teams that aren't doing good. It's the aura of the team, kind of like the Jets, kind of like the Titans. Like the aura is just not there. And I thought that's what the Bears, they have a respectable history, of course, but they still only got like one Super Bowl back in the 80s. And so, go ahead.
If you just brought up a great point. If we're talking about crappy auras in the NFL, I think the Bears are bottom 5. The past 3 years, Bears fans have been winning the NFL offseason and have been saying, this is our year, this is our year, this is our year. But here's the difference between the Jets and the Bears. The Bears, the past few years, have been expecting to be good. The Jets, and you had that video you did at the Jets game, which I saw with that one fan who was a bit younger, and he was like, oh, I've been born into this. It's just straight misery. The Jets are straight misery. The Titans are straight misery. The Browns, ironically, hold into games, but can never get a quarterback. And we'll talk about Shador another time, but, the Browns just can't get it done. The Bears have a horrible, horrible aura for the fact that they are great on paper most of the time, but the coaching doesn't get it done or they just choke.
Yeah, and that's kind of what times change and whatnot. That used to be kind of the Chiefs too. And, you have those times where things change, but it's very hard to get that change. And until I see it to believe it type of dude when it comes to those type of auras, and I got to see the fourth quarter of this. I think I turned on the TV. This is when I got back from A&M, and I turned on the TV, and that game was on, the Packers-Bears. And it was about 7 minutes, 8 minutes left, 16-6 game. I was just casually watching it. I was like, it's the only thing on. I wasn't about to watch the JMU play, It was either watch JMU Oregon.
I've seen enough.
Or watch the Bears and the Packers. So let me just turn this Bears game on. And I was watching. I was like, okay, they got the ball, and then they got the onside kick. which Romeo Dubes, one of my least favorite players in the NFL, just because he be losing me money a lot. Every time I bet on him, he be losing me money. So, Romeo, get it together, man. I don't know where you need to find Juliet, but find her and get your stuff together, man. I'm tired of you. And take that big old condom off your head, coach. I'm tired of seeing that thing. I'm sick of it.
Helmet condom, bro. That was
I'm, s-
that was a
I'm sick
dirty
of it.
comment right there, man. I've
I'm just tired, bro.
mixed feelings of those the Guardian caps. I remember when I played them.
His is extra big, though. I feel like he
Dude,
got 3 Guardian
it's
caps
so
on.
weird. Like, you just I can't take you seriously when you're wearing that shit, bro. Like
I
half
can't.
the
I can't do
half
it.
the appeal behind football is how cool the helmets look every year. Between the companies that make them, you got Schutt and Riddell. I mean, the F7 is one of the coolest helmets I've ever seen. I don't know what you were rocking in school. I mean, I personally was rocking just a classic speed, but I
That
mean,
was a speed.
I was a lineman. I'm a big guy, so I didn't have anything crazy. But like, dude, presentation, obviously you don't want to be that, you don't want to be that player on the field who's got all the drip and then sucks complete dick. But like, the Guardian caps in the NFL, I do respect the cause as concussions has become one of the underlying health concerns and controversies within the sport, the gladiator sport of football. But the Packers wide receiver room, and Romeo Dobbs looks aside, is one of the most confusing situations in all of the NFL. DeAndre, do you know a little bit about what's going on in that room between Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, and Romeo? Like, it makes no sense. Who's the one?
I thought it was going to be Golden, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's going to be the Packers' downfall. I don't believe in them either. Just because you don't Love is good, but he ain't good enough. I don't think he's good enough to elevate those guys to get. And I'm talking about like good enough to get to the Super Bowl. Essentially, you don't need a top 5 receiver, but you need a top receiver, like in generally speaking. And we don't know who's going to be there, who's going to show up. If you ever place a bet on a Packers receiver, don't do it. Save yourself the stress. And I think that, seeing that game, especially just how everything went down, Love got hurt and the whole night. I watched the game. Love was out. The game was like, what happened to Love, And so just them getting the onside kick and then Caleb Love obviously getting it to DJ Moore at the end and then winning in overtime. I think the Bears, look, they're fun to watch. They're a quality team. But do I think that the Eagles will beat them? Yes. Do I think the Seahawks will beat them? Yes. Do I think the Rams will beat them? Yes. Do I think the 49ers will beat them? Yes. Like, they're the best. They're the worst best team in the NFC.
I think you actually said the worst best team that wasn't the Bears, and I think this might be
The Eagles?
yeah, this might be the controversial part of the episode. I think the Eagles are incredibly overrated. And I mean, listen, I loved Jalen Hurts' story last year, and I love the sponsorships he did with Jordan Brand. That was such a random statement. But let me say this, right? The Eagles, Patullo has been on the hot seat for most of the year, but this is a team that they've been coming together they've been beating teams that are bad. Like they just beat the Commanders, but even then the Commanders are starting to come back. I mean, they lost to the Bears recently. They lost to the Chargers, which was, if you watch that game, Jalen Hurts completely just soiled himself. 4 interceptions, and the dude looked like every narrative against him was correct. Because I think here's the deal with the Eagles this year. And listen, I think if you're and this is an exclusive take only to the Philly fans, because Philly fans are completely insane. You could have a year this year where you go to the playoffs, you still win the division, which I think the NFC East is incredibly weak, especially compared to last year. I think Dallas has been maybe a pleasant surprise. Shout out George Pickens, who's been killing shit over there. But the Commanders have been injured as hell. The Giants are actually one of the most exciting teams, in my opinion, in terms of
George Pickens. You mean CeeDee Lamb?
look at the
You go,
numbers. Look at the numbers. George Pickens has
I've
been
seen like
amazing this
3
year.
Cowboys games live this year, and George Pickens is a crash out waiting to happen. But go ahead.
We'll get to that in a little bit, but let me say this, right? And hey, I love GP, but I mean, and shout out that draft picture. But the Eagles this year are a team that I just don't see making it into the further into the playoffs. I think they get out first round to whoever they play. I really don't think that the Eagles have the sauce this year. I mean, yes, they have Saquon, who hasn't had the same production as he had last year, but then again, Saquon last year was just a sight to behold.
All right, well, answer me this question then. Answer me this question. Well, 2 questions. 1, do you think playoff experience matters when it comes to quarterbacks highly in the playoffs? Yes or no?
Of course.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so tell me who got more playoff experience, Caleb Love or Sam Darnold?
Well, Caleb Williams,
Caleb Williams, sorry. Caleb Williams or Sam Darnold?
you're all good. Sam, I mean,
Who got more experience?
we're putting Jalen Hurts over them, but here's the problem I'm having here, right? It's not the quarterback experience, it's the team. I think that the Eagles are still great offensively, but Jalen Hurts has not looked like himself from last year, this year, especially
You
in the
know, playoffs is different though. You know, when the playoffs lights turn on, that a
Hey,
little
it
it's a
is
little
true.
different.
It is true. Hey, and you know, I
So
could be so wrong on all this. I could be eating all my words in a few days' time, or whenever the playoffs happen. You know, I could be eating my words, and the Eagles go far. They make the NFC Championship, but I don't think that's going to happen because I think that there are other teams that are better, well-rounded, and have better chemistry. And here's the most important part with the playoffs: is momentum. I think the Eagles are on a downward trend right now. I mean, morale and team spirit is extremely important with confidence in winning games, and Jalen Hurts doesn't look confident right now.
I mean, I think the Eagles got the best chemistry out of all the teams in the NFC, especially because they made it
AJ
to the Super.
Brown, AJ Brown,
So I say this because look, I might be a little not biased, but I have a little more insight because I was with the team all last year in the playoffs, and I was at the Super Bowl ceremony when they got the rings. I got to meet all these people, and not to say that other teams don't have that with them, but AJ Brown, everyone knows he's kind of like that's just his attitude, that's his aura. He's out reading, doing his little reading the books thing. He's might make a few complaints here and there, but they're solid. You know, they just won a Super Bowl. And if any team has camaraderie and can go from the depths to pull it together, it's that team out of all the teams left because they've been through the highs and the lows. So I don't care if they won the division now, but if they lose, if they stumble in, they're a team that since they have that experience, they can pull together rather than a team that's stumbling in that would be the 49ers, who hasn't well, I actually want to put them there because they got the chemistry too. The Seahawks or the Bears or the Packers or even the Lions for per take, you know, they've been there and got to the mountaintop and succeeded, and so they know how to deal with all the ups and downs. And I'll say this: Caleb Williams, when it comes to the Bears, he doesn't have more experience than Sam Darnold. He doesn't have more experience than Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have more experience than Matt Stafford. He doesn't have more experience than Purdy. He doesn't have more experience than Love. And he doesn't have more experience than Goff. Not to say that the quarterback with no experience isn't going to win a game. Not saying that, but I'm saying it takes steps. And this is his first playoffs. He will then be that quarterback to have more experience than the other guy coming in. And so I think this is the year they'll make the playoffs. They probably won't get the 1 seed. Man, they could get the 1 seed. Who knows? We know. We
the
don't know.
Bears. No, they're not getting the one.
There's a chance. They have a chance.
They won't get the one.
But
I don't.
there's a chance.
There's a chance on paper, but I don't think it's happening. I think the
Yeah.
one out of the West is going to be well. Actually, now after this week, I think it might be the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks are only 1 game ahead, so like of the Bears. So it would take a lot for the Bears to get the 1 seed. Correct. It would take a lot. But we both don't think they're getting it. They're probably not gonna get it. It'll be Caleb Love's first playoff game. He's gonna be going against any quarterback outside of the Panthers. With the Panthers, they can't play the Panthers first round. That has experience, a lot of experience in the playoffs. Caleb Love either is gonna be playing the Rams, the
Yeah,
49ers,
that would.
eh, who
Okay,
just went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
you do bring up a point. Here's the thing: the Rams is a terrifying. All right, Rams versus Bears. Give me the Rams all day. I mean, the Rams defense is great this year, but the other team, the other team,
49
right? The 40 they are a team that has been injury riddled, but they've been pulling it together. They actually kudos to the 49ers because everything given this year, that stretch of time where Kittle was out. Obviously, they have the vitality and health of CMC. Purdy, dude, Mac Jones single-handedly won the 49ers most of their season before Purdy came back. I mean, shout out to that team. Shout out Kyle Shanahan. But I think the Bears beat the Niners. I think that, yes, you have Fred Warner on defense. Yes, you have still a relatively good defense, right? But I just don't really think that the Ben Johnson led Bears are going to fall to the 49ers. I think the 49ers are on the outside looking in terms of, winning a playoff game.
Well, the Ben Johnson led Lions did lose to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, which I was at as well. And, I don't know if it was his call or the coach's call to not kick the field goals, but he did lose at the end of the day. And so I just think with Caleb Williams, it's different lights in the playoffs. It's just different lights. I think that experienced 49ers team would beat the Bears. And then when it comes to the Packers and the Lions, that's their best chance. Hopefully they can get one of those two teams because they are stumbling, bumbling, fumbling into the playoffs. I think if they play the Packers, that'll be a great match. I don't know. They could. Those are the only two teams I think they would beat in the first round. Any other team outside of the Panthers who they can't play in the first round, I think they lose to the Rams and the 49ers. So if they don't get one of their NFC North opponents, it's going to be lights out early for the Bears and Caleb Williams next year. I think he's got that experience. Okay, I'm ready to go. Regardless, they wins first round, lose first round, big second round. He's gonna lose second round. So I believe in them to make it. They're going to be a fun team, but I don't think they're making it past the divisional round. And that's good for them. So good for the Bears, man. Shout out Chicago.
So we've talked this whole time we talked NFL, we have strictly focused on the NFC.
I forgot about the other division.
Let's shift gears to the very visibly weaker division this year, though this is the division where, in my opinion, the most parity in the league lies, the AFC. Before we get into this week's AFC results and what teams we got for the playoffs, we'll talk about our, how we feel. What are your thoughts on this year from the AFC?
Man, it's a new king of the castle, man. Mahomes is out. It's sad to see, and so I never predicted this at all. I knew we stumbled in the Super Bowl last year, but this year it's gonna be a new man on the throne. I think AFC. I've always been more of an NFC guy, but outside of the Chiefs, of course. But it's going to be interesting. I don't like all these teams, so it's kind of hard to pick them, except, we can go through, the Broncos. I don't believe in Bo. I'm just going to put it like this. I don't believe in Bo Nix yet. Drake May, I believe in him more than Bo Nix. Trevor Lawrence, it's his time to shine. I'm thinking that it's the Jaguars' time to get to the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl or bust this year for them. He's the quarterback with the most experience. He's a Heisman. Is he a Heisman Trophy winner? No, he is not a Heisman Trophy winner. He didn't win the Heisman. He didn't win the Heisman. He was a first overall pick. He's been with the team for 4 or 5 years at this point. They got a solid overall team. Did he win the Heisman?
No, he was the runner-up to Devonta Smith.
Oh, see, runner-up Heisman. So he has something to prove in those regards.
Heisman.
I think the Jaguars, I like, for me, picking teams in this playoffs, I pick based off experience. And he has the most experience outside of Aaron Rodgers, but he's old up, washed up, and he's a shell of his old self. He has more experience than Herbert, who he's beaten in the playoffs. And I forgot about Josh Allen. I'd be forgetting about the Bills. And then the Bills. So I think it's either going to be the Jaguars or the Bills. And then depending, maybe Knicks or maybe May can show they are who they really say they are in the playoffs. But I just know the playoffs is such a different matchup. Some of these teams, for the Bills, Josh Allen, it don't matter if you're the 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, or 7 seed. They will be ready to go. That's the only team that I think you can put in any spot and they can get where they need to get to. They don't need home field advantage because it hasn't helped them in the past. But Jacksonville, Duval County, it's just y'all year to make it to the Super Bowl. Not to say you don't have next year, but if any time the strike is now because you don't have Mahomes, you don't have Burrow, you don't have Lamar Jackson, it's time is all the teams really, but especially the Jacksonville Jaguars, who they're like I said before, the aura in the building, they ain't never been there. It ain't really been there in Jacksonville. And so these other teams, they've had the aura before, outside of the Texans too. I think the Jaguars or the Bills is going to be the representative. I have the Bills. My preseason pick, I made a preseason pick, was the Lions and the Bills. Now, Lions, they might not make it, but the Bills are the Lions, or Bills are the Jaguars, that's me.
So let me give my 2 cents on this. The AFC has a clear list of victors from this year, and I'll give you the order I think that they're in. All right, and we're just going to go off regular season, but this is not how I actually feel in terms of talent, and I'm just going to start off by saying my take. I think this is the Jacksonville Jaguars year, and I'm fully on board the Jacksonville train. I love T Law. I love that this team has prevailed. And my favorite game watching this year was, and listen, you're going to hate me for this answer, was actually when they beat the Chiefs.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
That T Law stumble and run. Oh my God, man. I have never seen Trevor Lawrence do something so immaculate before. Maybe since he was in Clemson, he was doing cool shit. But Trevor Lawrence scrambling, like, oh my God, dude, this is amazing. I mean, not the Buccaneers, excuse me. The Jaguars this year, have just been a pleasure to watch and have been the most surprising team out of the AFC. I've heard nothing but hate for this franchise coming in. And, people have questions about the ownership. Oh, yeah, they should move out of Jacksonville to London now. Keep them right in Jacksonville because now the success is rolling in and they are a newer franchise, them and the Browns, right? I think they're actually the newest franchise in the
Them and
NFL.
the Panthers, they're the two newest ones. Or actually, the Texans are the newest franchise.
Yes, Texans and the Jags are the newest. And I mean,
Well, the
but
Jags came in the same year as the Panthers, but go ahead.
yeah, so let's take a look at it like this, right? If we're going over the best teams in the AFC by record, it goes as following. It goes the Broncos, then I believe the Patriots, then I believe the Jaguars, then the Chargers. The Bills are up there still. And then outside of those, the AFC North, I mean, you have the Steelers, but this is where I think things get controversial. And we'll start by talking about the Steelers Lions game. For full-fledged context to new viewers, I am a Ravens fan, and I absolutely hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, due to my nature of debating, I keep things very non-biasedly. Today, we will not be doing that.
We'll see.
Mike Tomlin is a great coach, but I think this team is washed. DK again, and before we even get into this game, let's just get the hot take and the more news-oriented element out of the way. DK Metcalf is a fucking idiot. What the hell?
They probably said something crazy to him, man. Let him get him some slack. I know you're not supposed to do that. It was dumb for him to do, but maybe they said something about his mama, man. If you say something about his mama and he's in the heat of battle, I don't blame him.
Yes, it's okay to get heated, but NFL players get paid a certain amount of money. And in that contract, there is somewhere in those terms and conditions that say that there is a fine line between you as a player and then them as a fan. And there is a border you don't cross. And that is one that was crossed. I think DK gets suspended. I think this actually hurts the Steelers because even though the Steelers have one of the weakest receiving rooms in the NFL currently, including an underutilized Johnny Smith, which opinions aside, I hated that trade, him going to Pittsburgh. He should have stayed in Miami. I know it wasn't his
I
choice.
blame security, man. That's security's fault for not getting that fan out the way and watching him.
They gotta get the
Security be on
Eagles
me every time I go anywhere. Security be on me. Why is the fan be able to get down there with the blue hair? They thought they were just having a pleasant talk and they knew each other. That's security's fault. And I don't blame DK, man. You need to sue the security system in
Yeah,
Detroit.
someone's losing their job. They gotta get that security guard from Philly. What's his name? Big Dom.
Big Dom, man.
Yeah, bro, they gotta get him in, bro. Like, give that man a raise. Give him a contract. Like, I mean, you can't be like this is on DK. You can't be doing that, but at the same time, I do get your point, and I think you do need to give a little leeway to the player. Obviously, if this fan was calling him a slur or saying something insane about his family, like, yes, in the heat of the moment, I completely get it. But you are a professional athlete and you can't do that. Antics aside, though, this game, the Lions blew it in the final half of the game. I really wanted them to come back. I was rooting for the Lions, but no, that didn't happen. The Steelers won, and Chris Boswell was solid from the field today. He didn't miss one at the very end, but it didn't really matter. Aaron Rodgers looked solid, and I think that's a hot debate is whether he is washed. I personally think he's washed. Then again, I'm also an A-Rod hater, but I think that the Steelers, this is just going to be another one and done year for them, man. They're not going to win a playoff game. They're going to get into the playoffs, and we'll talk about my Ravens in a minute, but they're going to get into the playoffs, and they are just not going to win.
Yeah, facts. Shout out my man Chisel Adonis, one of the biggest Steelers fans out there. He always claims that they're one and done every year, and this year, like you said, it's gonna be the same thing, man. There's nothing showing on this team that proves that they're better than any of the other teams that's gonna make the playoffs. They're making the playoffs because they're the outright de facto best team in their division, which ain't really saying much. The Ravens ain't nothing this year. The Bengals stumbled, and the Browns are the Browns. So whoever wins this division usually actually really competitive. This is a down year for them, but yeah, I mean they're gonna stumble in there. They're gonna face either the Texans or the Bills, most likely. It ain't looking too good, even in Pittsburgh, even with all the terrible towels you got, man. You're gonna have to wipe something out with them when you exit the building. So shout out the Steelers for possibly making the playoffs, but I don't think it's gonna be a long run for them.
No, and really fast, a team I did forget to mention in my list of great teams was the Texans, and I'll briefly cover that game against Las Vegas.
You said great teams?
Texas is a great the Texans are a great team, and I'll tell you why. The offense is okay. Stroud has had an okay year. I don't think Stroud's had a great year. I think he's been okay. I think Nico Collins is still a great receiver. I actually have always been a huge Nico Collins fan. I always thought he was so slept on. But let me tell you this, right? Going into this year, CJ had a sophomore slump last year, and this year he really needed to get back on track. I don't really think he did. I think that the team around him has been great. But here is where I'm going to with that point. The Texans defense has been an utter buzzsaw this year. They have been the biggest nightmare for teams around the league. That defense has been brutal. So this is why when I am watching a Las Vegas Raiders versus Houston Texans matchup, I'm expecting a 40-0 victory, kind of like how the Eagles did it. But a close game? I'm sorry, was the final score 23-21, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's the score. That's the score.
Yeah, right. And that result tells me a lot more to this team than really that it tells me a lot more than what's on paper. And the Texans have a great defense. I actually love Derek Stingley, and hit a phenomenal pick six in the beginning of the game last night. But losing losing to the Texans by 2 points by Las Vegas, shout out to them because they have been an abysmal team this year. And I have many mixed feelings on Las Vegas. We'll cover bottom feeders in a future episode, but I think that the Texans can't feel good about this win. It was an ugly win. And I know you're going to make that argument. Win's a win, regardless of how clean or ugly it is, but there's a lot more to that. And the Texans looked vulnerable, man.
Yeah, they look like a good team. I don't know about great. I mean, they got 10 wins, but they also, they play in a weak division. Oh, not weak. I can't even say that anymore. They got in a good
No,
division
the
now.
AFC South not a weak division.
They not the weak division no more, so I can't even say that. But the Texans, look, they're just a weird team where it's like CJ Stroud got experience. I believe he has won a playoff game before. And they could sneak up on somebody, but they're one of those teams with that aura in the building. You got to take over. So
The word I like to use is the Texans are a dark horse for the AFC.
okay, that's good. That's a good word. I like dark horse for them, man. They got a light skinned quarterback, but a dark skin path to victory, or dark horse path to victory. Probably the only black quarterback to make the playoffs in the AFC this year. So I'm rooting for it. So we got the Broncos, the Patriots, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Herbert, and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So you got to do it, Stroud.
He really
You
is.
got to
And
do
you know
it.
what? For that, go CJ Stroud. But at the same time, let's talk about the other AFC matchup that was a little important from yesterday that actually laid on more of a message to what you said earlier about your preseason pick, the Bills and Browns, which we're not going to talk about this very much because obviously the Browns are record-wise horrible, but there's an underlying tone from this game that I think Bills fans need to be terrified of, and it's they're really not that good. They really are not that good. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are one of those teams that have a great defense. Myles Garrett is a generational pass rusher. Obviously, they have great pieces on their defense, including a great rookie. I don't remember his name, but I remember reading about it. He was very good. The offense is abysmal, even though the line's pretty okay. Shador, we will talk about another time, but I don't think he's the answer. But 20-23 against Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen, 12 for 19, 130 yards passing. There was no snow. There was no bad weather. James Cook carried the team.
Which he did torch yesterday. In fact, did you see that first quarter play where he juked out like five
Mhm.
Okay, James Cook is him. I slept on him going into this year. My apologies to James Cook. You are a beast, but holy shit, you win by a field goal against a team that's what, like 4 wins in? Like 4.
3 wins. 3 wins.
That's
I mean, look, they're division. Well, not they're not defending division. Look, the Browns, they're tough, and Shador is the answer because he is that guy, and so I'm not surprised they had tough with Shador. Like, of course, Shador gonna give them problems. Like, he gonna give everybody problems for the most part. You know, when he gets a real chance to actually get the game plan together. But that's a story for the day. The Bills, yeah, man, they've lost me some money this year. I'm not gonna lie. I don't bet on the Bills anymore. I lost money on team props, player props. I can't do it with them no more. We'll see what time it is. I did have them going to the Super Bowl only because I said it's their turn, basically, like we playing Ring Around the Rosie. And that's I thought the Chiefs were tired, and I had the feeling the Chiefs weren't going to make the Super Bowl this year at least. I thought they were in the playoffs, not Super Bowl, and they could still do that, but they got to get it together, man. They look bad compared to what they usually look like. To be quite honest, obviously we've seen Cam Newton flame Keon Coleman as he should. Keon Coleman's a no-show. Khalil Shakir, that's your number one, which is insane. You got a great, great, great top 5 running back, and you have a top 5 quarterback, and you got a solid defense, but these games, as all the Bills games has came to in the past, is going to rely on the last 2 minutes of the game and who's going to make those plays. Are we going to count on Josh Allen to throw checkdowns to the two Knox and Kincaid and the running backs? No, we're going to have to see him get it played to these wide receivers and get them to make plays eventually. And so, can they do that against these other teams with great weapons? I don't know. And Josh Allen just been bumbling, stumbling, fumbling half the time against these good teams. So I don't know with the Bills, man. I was high hopes on them this season. I thought they're going to be the 1 seed. Technically, they could still make the 1 seed, technically. But I don't even know if they can still make the 1 seed. I don't think they
I
can.
think I think the Patriots actually won the division.
The Patriots, yeah, they can't even do that.
I think the Patriots won
Yeah,
the
so, it's actually the Patriots haven't won the 1 seed. The Bills have won 11 games, the Patriots won 12. So they could still win if Patriots lose their last 2 games, then the Bills would win the division. So this whole 17 game setup got my mind all like I can't do math correctly in the
Oh,
NFL
yeah, no, they
anymore.
didn't. This game. Bills fans gotta feel scared. They don't have a clear-cut wide receiver one. I completely agree with you. Dalton Kincaid has not been great. He has shown flashes, but he's not been great. And I think that offense just centers way too heavily around Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's gonna be that guy, like that essentially Mahomes guy, he has to do this. It's like I said it's Trevor Lawrence time to do it. It's honestly every quarterback in the AFC's time to do it, and we're gonna see who's actually gonna do it. But none of these guys in the AFC have proven themselves to make it to the promised land, except Aaron Rodgers. But today's Aaron Rodgers in the past ain't really the same person. He's like post. What he's post what's it called when you have your awakening? He's been awoken or something like that.
Is it a Shroom
Spiritual
reference?
awakening. Spiritual awakening. Yeah.
Yeah, the off the court antics, off the field antics with Rodgers is insane.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a little bit here. You know, my beloved Baltimore Ravens have been injury prone all year. Lamar is not healthy, and that is why they are shitting the bed. You could say whatever you want, but when you're playing a quarterback that is basically playing on a broken foot and is not playing well, he got taken out of the game for Snoop Huntley last night, who this game really grinded my gears. You know, I'm a very angry Ravens fan because I really thought we had it, and then Drake May came and stomped on all of us. Shout out my man Kevin Pierce, even though I am a Ravens fan. He did House of Highlights, he did Clash with us, and I was on his Sports Guard episode about the Mark Andrews drop last year, which Ravens, the Ravens are known as the team for being consistent. They're always consistent, and they have the history, they have rings. But this is Lamar. Lamar is now in this era of his career where he needs to prove it. And this year, the injuries, I chalk this year up to injuries, which may sound as a sorry excuse for me as a fan, but if you pay attention to the year, you can completely see it. The team has been injury riddled, and the fact that they're still not eliminated from the playoffs gives more of a message on the AFC North and how the Browns are terrible. The Bengals are overpaying the wrong players, and can't get a defense. And the Steelers are just stuck in a rut of they're not mediocre, they're not great, they're just decent. The AFC North is the weakest conference, and the Ravens still have a chance to make the playoffs even after last night's loss.
But do you even want the Ravens to make the playoffs? They just gonna be one and done.
Yeah, basically, they are going to be a one and done if they make it. However, it's like the Steelers, they still make the playoffs every year and they have that as a bragging right. You want that as a Ravens fan. So and also when you hate the Steelers as much as I do, if you're in over the Steelers, it's a win. I mean, going into this year, I thought the Ravens were going to win a Super Bowl. That's a delusional take now looking back, but I really thought this was our year. I mean, Derrick Henry's had fumbling problems all year. Zay Flowers literally sold us the game last night, which I'm not going to get
But
personal.
somebody's always selling y'all the game. If it ain't Mark Andrews selling the game, it's Zay Flowers, or it's that one receiver number Lee Evans, or it's somebody selling y'all the game within recent memory, and I don't know, man. Ravens, y'all, I like the Ravens too. Y'all a likable team, but man, y'all, and also there's a conspiracy theory going on that somebody, I don't know what's going on, but they didn't give Derrick Henry the ball in the fourth quarter. What's up with that, man?
Yeah, they gave him way too much to Keaton Mitchell. I'm really not sure. I think the biggest controversy right now with the Ravens is whether Harbaugh is going to be coaching next year or not, which I personally think he will be. Harbaugh is a great coach, regardless of how this team has went this year. But this team is nonetheless pretty much out of the playoffs. They need a miracle to happen to get in, and it's not impossible. We have seen crazy scenarios before, but at the same time, the Ravens are just a team that have just nonstop disappointed me this year, and the Patriots, looking on the other side of this, Drake Mays looked phenomenal. His weapons around him have looked very solid as well. Hunter Henry has had a resurgence as a pretty good tight end this year, and he's been, a very nice safety blanket for Drake May. Stephon Diggs and the receivers around them, I consider it a shallow room, but with how Drake May has been playing, kind of like a Josh Allen type player where he just elevates everyone around him, this team looks solid. And may I just say that the Tennessee Titans are the dumbest franchise of all time for letting ownership get in the way of firing Mike fucking Vrabel? The Patriots lucked out by getting rid of Mayo and getting Vrabel in. Vrabel's a great coach, and now that hire is reaping its benefits. The Patriots, I think, win the AFC this year.
Yeah, no, the Titans deserve poverty for that and Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry wasn't trying to leave either. And AJ Brown. They had a whole nice squad out there, man, and they sold
They
it all
were
away for nothing.
they were literally contending for AFC championships, and now they have a young, promising quarterback, but the worst team on paper otherwise, except
Yeah.
L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know how he's been this year, but he was pretty good on the Chiefs.
I haven't really watched. I mean, they won 3K. Nobody watching them,
Yeah, no one's
but
watching the Titans.
yeah, so it's like Titans, they self-sabotage themselves. They have one of the better coaches, and because they had one down year, they're like, "Oh, we got to get rid of him." I'm like, y'all, teams don't have patience. If you have one bad year, like the Ravens having this year, or the Chiefs, or the Bengals, well, Bengals have multiple bad years, but that's because Burrow been hurt. You can't give up on your players so quickly. Things happen, like that year, down years happen, but it's about what do we have with us. And if you think the grass is green on the other side, good luck. But as you can see with the Titans case, it ain't. And I personally don't think Cam Ward's a rookie, so I give patience for rookies. I'm not going to claim what he is yet, but everything else really ain't been seeming that great. But we'll see. I mean, it's too early for them, but yeah, they had a nice thing together, and they traded all their best players away for future, and we'll see the future is coming in the next couple of years with them, but yeah, we gonna see, man. Well, the football is looking interesting. The NFL, we got a couple. Oh, last thing I was gonna ask. So the Ravens got last two games. They played at the Packers and then at the Steelers. What you think is gonna happen?
And it's a great question because I thought going into this Patriots game, I thought the Ravens were going to win. I thought it was going to be a close game, but I thought the Ravens were going to win. It was at home. The story was looking good, but then Lamar went out of the game, and now it's probably Snoop Huntley for the next game. I think we're losing to the Packers, and I think that the Steelers might already be in the playoffs by the end of that game. So, if that's the case, I think if that's the case, I think the Ravens are just they get eliminated, they sit Lamar and they go into Pittsburgh and they do what they can. They're not going to play their starters in that game, most likely. I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll
Well,
see.
the Steelers play the Browns next week, so good luck.
Yeah. Although that is
I
an
mean, they do play tough. They do play each other tough.
they and I
And
was
they
gonna
do
say that is
they do
that's
got
to
Shador
me
too, so Shador probably gonna beat them, you know?
that's not the Jets, that's not the Titans, that's the Browns. I think that the
And
Steelers
Shador
yeah, the Steelers could drop that on paper, but I think this season's just done as a Ravens fan, and I've shifted gears to rooting for the Jaguars. Like I said, I think the Patriots are going to win the AFC. I want the Jaguars to go all the way because between Jacoby Myers getting a new home this year, between Travis Etienne looking solid this year, between Trevor Lawrence, and this is the most important one, between Trevor Lawrence taking that leap, and the last few weeks, Trevor Lawrence has been a QB1 in the whole league. He's been a top quarterback. And I mean, I just cap off this conversation. This past week was a crazy week for football. It's going to be very exciting when we talk about next week and what that looks like. But I think that the Jaguars have the highest momentum going into this AFC, right? I think that in terms of the NFC, the Seahawks got it. Those two teams are teams to look out for.